What are
That's
the
right.
chances, since Goat is still playing, that the Lakers win the championship this year?
You can't call him Legoat on my podcast. Sorry. Let's give
Time.
him a
The
pass.
second best.
What's up, everyone? Sappy, Jordan, and special guest here for episode 12 of Sappy Speaks. We're going to give you guys a customer perspective of the hobby of sports cards. And here's a little introduction.
All right, guys, this is one of our biggest customers, Ted Zarabi, and he's just going to give an outlook today on a perspective from a customer instead of more of you get from Joe and I, which is more of like a business aspect and outlook because we do this full time. He has a full-time job. Cards is kind of just like a hobby for him. So, Ted, would you like to introduce yourself and maybe give people like how you got into the hobby and just a little bit about that?
Sure. Thanks for having me on, boys. Like they said, I wouldn't say I'm the biggest customer. I'm just a consistent customer. Been around for a long time and doing grading and ripping and breaks and all that stuff. Yeah, for me, cards is really just more of a outlet. It's fun, stress relief. I'm not really like a collector of a given team or player or anything like that. For me, it's more about um, I like to buy and sell. I like the treasure hunt, if you will, finding a good hit, finding a good deal, grading it, trying to find value in places that other people might overlook. So that's kind of more why I'm into it. But for me, it's not really a business. It's more like a side hustle. Sometimes it's side hustle. Sometimes it's just stress relief. But it's in between
A
those
little
two
bit of
things.
both.
Yeah.
I would say that your favorite part of it is obviously ripping and like joining the breaks and the mystery of like being able to find that big hit. Um, Talk a little bit about like whenever you come and you like have would come in the shop. Do you have like, okay, I'm gonna get a Panini 1-in-1, or I'm gonna get this, or is it kind of just like you walk in and what happens?
It's probably maybe I go in with the mindset of the first part, and then it
Mm-hmm.
kind of devolves into the latter. It's kind of a funny thing because like the hobby's gone nuts in the last few years. I mean, when I first started, I mean, I was big in the hobby like before Jordan was born. Like when I was a kid in the
Yeah.
early 90s, I was actually pretty active. I did card shows all over California. I didn't think the National was even around yet. And they used to have a big show at Cal Palace in San Francisco. TriStar used to be the main company that did all of the big shows.
Yeah.
So I was actually pretty active. I was like a dealer back then when I was like 14. And then I got out of it for a long time. And when I got back into it, my game was to buy big lots and collections from people I'd find on like, OfferUp and these websites and Craigslist. And I would just go meet people and buy their collections. And then I would look to find things like a grade. And that was actually kind of a cool hustle for a while. I got into the opening kind of game. That was kind of like 2018ish, and at that time, man, it was a hell of a lot cheaper to 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 buy and rip. You could buy a box of Prism for like 150, $180. And so it became pretty fun to complement the buying singles and grading them with ripping products, and you could get a lot of value out of product back then. So it was fun. You could get the silvers, get the golds, get the autos, basketball, football, whatever. But once COVID came around, like all bets were off, man. The industry just went nuts, and it's kind of tapered off, I guess, a bit since then. But it's a different game now. You can't really walk into a card shop and you know buy a case of Prism. It's like you can buy a box, maybe two. And it used to be that you could open a box and if you're on average you're going to get like 60-70% of your money back out of the box. Good box, maybe you double up, triple up. Bad box, you get like 30-40%. But nowadays you could buy a box of Prism and spend $1,200 for a box of football and get like $80 out of it. You could also get 20K. So I find like the extremes are so much higher now, that it almost seems like kind of buying to rip is a lot less common, and it's more about like if you want to have a shot at the big value cards, you got to get in a break. Um, and even that seems a little bit trickier now because a lot of these big breakers, you do a case of, we were just talking about Panini 1-on-1, beautiful product, but what's a case of that? Like 10,000, 12,000, um,
Mm,
like
I think it's
nine
more than
thousand
in
five
that
hundred,
in
ten
that in
thousand
that
bucks.
range. In that
Yeah, so
range.
you're talking about a break that if you did random team on that, it's going to be like $350 a spot. You might get nothing, and
You get a
so
team without a downtown, without a timeless.
yeah, man, you get the Hawks, you're screwed. And so it's one of those things where I feel like it's just the hobby's kind of on the extremes now. So you got to really pick and choose what you want to do. That was a
yeah.
long answer, but
No, I think that was a good answer. I think that you're right. I mean, um, wax is definitely way more expensive. It seems like wax, even though, like you said, it tapered off a little bit since 2020, wax not so much as singles. I feel like
no
wax
way.
has
Yeah,
tapered off a little bit, but it doesn't correlate to me. And like you were saying earlier, like what's a let's say the Orlando Magic and a Panini 1-in-1 break is $700. Let's say it's seven
it's
hundred
more
bucks.
more than that for
Okay,
sure. Yeah,
so more than that, if you hit a Paulo Banchero two patch RPA, you losing money, right?
Yo, definitely. That's
probably losing money.
maybe a
Yeah,
$500 card
I mean, maybe the first couple go over like right at 1,000, and then it definitely tapers off after that. So
yeah. You got to get a downtown or something big,
or a
timeless
timeless.
treasure
or
downtown or
timeless. Yeah,
one some
that's why it's
hopefully
like
big
the extremes.
one. Yeah.
It's like a lot of folks that are in the hobby now, I think, that are newer to it, that weren't, say, in the hobby in 2018,
Hmm.
like before things blew up. They This is kind of all they know, right? But I can still remember. I remember vividly in November 2019. We had a show. It was in Louisville, I think. This was even before the big shows were
I
going on in
remember that
Dallas,
one. We were in Chicago.
and I had all kinds of stuff. That was the last show I set up at, selling my singles, trading, buying. I sold a LeBron rookie Topps Chrome Refractor PSA 9. I think I sold it for like 4,000. At the peak, like not long after that, that car was 40,000.
Yeah.
And so it was something like, as soon as people started getting that stimmy money and had a lot of time on their hands with COVID, it was like whoop, everything. I mean, you could
There was
buy
no sports to bet on. There was nothing. It was just
nothing.
cards.
You could buy rookie Prism PSA 10 Lucas were like $80 at that time.
Yeah,
I
like
think
70,
those
80 bucks.
peaked. I think they peaked at
2K.
like over 1,000, yeah, 2,000.
No, more
Even
than
LeBron,
1,000.
LeBron base PSA 10s were like $900. It was crazy. And
First
now
season
those are back.
Lakers uniform.
Yeah, first Laker uniform, Laker
Yeah,
rookie, right?
yeah, yeah.
It went
Hey,
insane.
whatever it takes to sell, man.
It was, and so I think a lot of folks kind of got in, rode that momentum, and now they're kind of just accustomed to, box prices being way up here and having to get in breaks.
Do you guys think we ever get back to the point where prison boxes are $200-$300 each?
No, me
Nah, I
personally,
don't think so.
I don't. I mean, Prism draft picks.
We,
Those were like 50 to $100 back then.
yeah,
Like,
for
I
Right
feel, I
around
sure.
feel like
$100.
it's gonna depend on like what happens with like Panini and with Tops, because
Hmm.
like, if those companies ever do sort their shit out and merge or something like that, and if you can start to have Panini products with like Jordan showing up or LeBron autos or things that like would really spice it up, um, that could make prices go way up. But
Yeah.
as long as there's a pretty solid foundation of people breaking, and you can get into a Prism case for a couple $100, like it's gonna continue to sell. You know,
Yeah,
I think that everyday people like me who just like to rip, we're the ones who are going to be host, because it's going to be tough to like walk into a shop and you know go nuts on Prism, because unless you're made of money, that's going to be heavy.
Right.
But you can get into breaks and do that game is going to be pretty active, I suspect.
Well, we're on that topic real quick. I was just at B Sports Cards, the other shop, and I was talking to Andrew, he runs Beast, and we're seeing a change a little bit about cards coming back up right now, and wax. And we're talking about how the whole Tops and Panini war is kind of hurting the end consumer because of no autos, obviously with
Yep.
CJ, Bryce, and Will Levis,
Victor.
and then no Wimby autos, right? But I told him when we were talking about it, I was like, "Have you ever seen Prism Draft Picks basketball be this hot in your life?" And he's like, "Never." So this is my theory, and this is what I think is going to happen. Apparently, Prism football or basketball has a new insert, another new insert that's going to be crazy, probably. I think they're going to supplement the autos for these new or put more. Like, you know how Basketball Prism doesn't have Color Blast, doesn't
Yeah,
have
yeah,
manga. I think they're going to add stuff like that into these products because we looked at like Certified, we looked at Panini One Black, we looked at Mosaic was which they put. He said they put a new like Prism insert in football or yeah football where it looks like it's one per case maybe, but like
The
people were chasing it.
the pictures,
The
like the
pictures,
close up,
yeah. The close-ups pictures, and they're like dots of
like
them.
dots.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And so what I was telling him was, I think Panini's going to supplement with a more like really like wanted like these inserts like Color Blast, mangas, stained glass, profiles, or whatever the case may be. And I feel like the price of wax is going to either stay the same as what it was last year with these better products, or be even more because of people wanting to chase all these inserts. And the only person that's going to have an auto in football is Anthony Richardson. So, what do you think about like? I can already see it like what we're getting allocated, the allocation price and like secondary cost.
yeah,
It's not that much cheaper than it was last year.
yeah. I think basketball. I feel like basketball, particularly like with just Wemby being, is going to kind of benefit in a way. Like I think what you described, like I mean, Wemby. I'll give you the perfect example, right? So we've moved two of my cards on whatnot. We're both Wendy Venoms, PSA 10s,
Yes.
right? And they
Yeah.
both went like in the near area of 2,000. Um,
Mm-hmm.
I hit a few years ago Zion's Venom PSA 10,
Mm-hmm.
and that product, and I sold that at a time when it was still pretty hot, and it only went for like 1,100. So if you kind of put it in perspective, it's like
Well,
that card for a guy like Wendy's way more valuable now. Um, and Zion had autographs in that product, so there were other things people were chasing.
and also I think cards were healthier during that time than they are now.
Yeah,
So
so it kind of
imagine you
speaks to
pull
that
Wemby.
value.
Yeah, exactly.
But so I think like, and if they're gonna put color blasts in Prism, it's like then you probably gotta like not do Spectra, because the only reason why you don't put
Yeah,
Spectra
because
is for color
that would
Maybe
just
blast.
not
flood the
color
market.
blast, but like I guarantee you they do something. I bet you
Manga
they
would
do.
work, something like that.
Yeah.
Um,
Manga stained glass
Color
basketball.
wheel, they don't have that in basketball. Stained glass, like
But no, there's
do
color wheels
something to
in
supplement it.
basketball. There's
In
color wheels in
select,
basketball.
in
In
select, in
select. In
select. That's
select,
right.
yes.
Yeah.
But see, I
Um,
think that they're going to do that for each product. Select, Prism, Optic. I think
Is
they're
that
going
a
to
good
add
thing
stuff
or
in.
bad thing though? If they add a
I
bunch
like it.
of if they add a bunch of different, like if now Wemby has double the amount of mangoes, I just feel like that's a lot more.
Double?
Like
What do you
I,
mean?
to supplement the autos.
I think you can have the draft and you can have the insert if they don't already have it. But like what I don't dig is like Obsidian had a color blast, the black one, and then you had the real color blast in Prism, but the premium for the real color blast was like
It's ridiculous.
5x,
Yeah.
over the
Yeah.
Obsidian one. So like they had to be a little bit careful that they don't just like water it down too much. But they don't have manga at all in for basketball, so
Only
except
in
for
Prism
draft.
Graphic.
Yeah, so if you put it into Prism, that would be cool. That'd be a big hit.
Yeah.
If you, I don't even know why we have Spectra. I would just get rid of Spectra and put those inserts into, or put Spectra back into Chronicles or something like that. Um, but football though, I'm still kind of skeptical about, to be totally honest with you. Like I hear you, but like you know you can buy like Origins now on Panini's website for like 275. I mean, it released at like 360.
Yeah.
And I think certified's like 219. So like a bunch of products are down. And even for me, when I look at like certified or origins, both of those, I'm kind of like,
But see, there's no inserts in those that you can pull.
but there's also
You're
just,
hoping
it's just, what are you gonna get? And it's kind of
I
suck.
mean,
Now,
Anthony Richardson auto. That's
you're
pretty
pretty much
much.
hoping for a Stroud numbered card that
Yeah, like
doesn't
a
have
Stroud
a jersey
numbered
or an
card.
auto on there.
If you hit like a
when
Stroud to 25, that's going to sell better than like an Anthony Richardson, probably RPA numbered to 99.
Yeah, you're probably right.
the other bummer, like just with the timing, is I feel like Puka's not in a ton of stuff, in the
He's
same
Kind of
not.
like
way. And
Purdy from it's like Purdy from last year.
yeah. So some of these guys that could also uplift the product. So maybe like later, like when Flawless and NT come out, if there are some of these other guys who have emerged, if they become,
Relevant
pretty big in
in
the
the product.
product, maybe that
Yeah.
helps. But yeah, it's just got to be a little cheaper than last year. It's just
That's
got to
what I
be.
mean. I think I should. I agree with you that, but I think, and this is I don't know for a fact. I just think that them offsetting it with putting more rare insert cards in there or whatever is going to help the products. So
The big question is for like NT. Like the card in NT is
logo
the
man auto.
RPA and the shield, right?
Yep.
And so it's like
They can
that's
they
gotta.
can make a non-auto logo man, can't they?
Yeah, they do.
Yeah, they have a non-auto shield,
They're numbered to
but
five. The
NBA's
non-auto
gotten that.
logo
I'm not
mans are
sure if they
numbered to
got that.
five. They'll probably like milk that or like water that down. There's gonna
I'm
probably be a
sure
number
there'll be a
five, a
duel
number
or
to
something.
one. Um,
But it's just
but
it's just kind of a drag, though, right? Like CJ Stroud, non-RPA. It's like,
I
ugh,
know
like
that the
but
NT one. Yeah, you want to see a
NT and
true
Flawless, Eminence, those products are gonna have to kind of suffer a
immaculate,
little bit.
immaculate. Yeah,
Immaculate,
Yeah.
Immaculate's one too that it had its moment. Like it was hot for a minute, like a few years ago, but I kind of feel like it's like way behind those other three. Um, like it's a premium product, but it just like they haven't really made it a winner. I don't know. It's like
yeah.
Noir as a product, like kind of sucks, but they got sneaker spotlights in there, and everybody
Hmm.
wants sneaker spotlights, so it's the whole point of the product. But
Hmm.
Immaculate doesn't have, everyone wants the RPA, everyone wants the shield and Flawless. But like, what do you get out of Immaculate? I guess there's a shield in there too, like a little teeny
Hmm.
one or an RPA. But it's just their RPAs go for so much less that I don't love Immaculate. It's not my favorite.
Yeah, that is true.
One thing I wanted to touch on, Ted, you actually talked about it earlier, is that you try and find ways to like make the money that maybe some other people don't. Did you
Yeah.
want to like talk about that? Because you definitely do.
Well, it's sure. I mean, if you're gonna get into breaks and stuff, that you're hunting for hits, so you got to look for value. So sometimes it depends upon the format. You have to be very thoughtful about what format you're going to go into, because if you don't necessarily know the relative value of what you're buying, you could very easily get smoked. So I'll give you an example. I won't say who, but there was a big break the other night on Whatnot. It was like a 8K definitive, like very enticing. Like, oh man. But the way it was structured was like you were bidding on the hit. So it was like all the purple RPAs out of 15, you get that. But like that's tough because I don't know the hit rate, I don't know the number of spots. So for me, I'm like not going to touch that because I have no idea what I'm bidding on. So is 800 too much? 500 too much? Whereas if you're doing like for a while, the Niners were really cheap when Purdy was rookie, and like as he started to kind of emerge, you could get into breaks and still get that. Like you can still get the Rams. This year you should be watching Rams because Puka's in there, and people may not be paying attention. And so if you can get Rams or PYT on the cheap, that might be worth chasing.
I've even
So
seen
on the
Puka
break
auto.
side, it's that. But if you're opening boxes up, that's much harder because you almost have to grade. Because like we talked about, like you got to get the big hits, right? If you're not grading them, because if you grade PSA 10, still is in like the 1.5 to 2x, raw value. Um, so if you're ripping a box of Prism or something or whatever it is, and you're hitting an auto, or you're hitting a base card, you, even if you get a good one, you're not going to touch box value. But if you grade the card, particularly if you're patient, $20, $40, $100, you could turn your $300 card into a $700 card. Now you're in the money, and so you got to be pretty active in that space. And then you got to find ways to offload the small stuff, like through consigners. There's lots of guys online that'll. I mean, I don't have time for that stuff, but if you as a person have time to, package up the smaller cards and sell them, you got to sell them too. Unless you're made of money, then fair enough, then just throw them away. But it's like it's pretty tough, and you see it now. Like it's almost like the companies have acknowledged it, like with Breaker's Delight, or HTA. A lot of these products have like only a few cards in them. I think part of that's like makes the manufacturers pretty happy because most people don't even, what do they do with all this base? They just kind of throw it away. But the base does have value, and so if you can put the base online, like use ComC, use eBay, you can move that stuff and actually recoup some of your dough. And then if you do Bowman, or that's your bag, like you're kind of a long termer. I mean, for a while I was ripping like 16, 17, 18 Bowman. I get the autograph, whoever I knew. I would just throw the other stuff in a box. But then a few years later, I'm going through the box, and then there's tons of dudes that are now coming up. Like in 19, everyone was hot on Wander and Julio Rodriguez. That was like those were the guys. But in that very same product, it's got like Corbin Carroll and there's two or three other guys in there. And then
Witt?
What's that?
Was Witt
Witt?
there?
No, Witt's in 20. So
He's 2020 with
yeah,
Dominguez.
with Dominguez. But even that's it. Like Evan Carter's in that. There's like several other dudes. Bobby Miller's in that. And so
In
like
2017, if you bought the Braves in a break, you were
Was
chasing
it
Kevin
Jordan
White.
Walker? Maybe.
Jordan Walker is in not in 19. I think he's in 20 as well, actually.
Yeah.
But that's the point though, is right. Like these big guys, you almost don't want to like worry about them. So if people are selling paper base for cheap in a break like that, like a lot of these guys do like 10 case break, and then you can buy the paper base. Like it's kind of worth your while because I mean I've just graded like I don't know 30 Corbin Carroll 2019 Bowman paper, right? And they sell PSA. They're pretty easy to get PSA 10s on. They sell for like 55, $60 a pop. So I'm $20 to grade them. It's a card that if I sold raw, I'd probably get like I don't know, $7, $8 for. But if I turn them into 10s, I'm getting 50, $60 for them. And so you just got to kind of look across the universe. And sometimes they'll surprise you. Like who the hell is Colt Keith? Like I don't follow baseball that closely, but I had like 3 of his 2020 autographs, and I'm just going through them, and they were like $200. I'm like, oh, nice. Okay, let's sell these. So if that's your bag, you can buy and hold and play the long game with it.
The Bowman Chrome prospect game.
Man, you got to be patient though.
Yeah, you never know.
Pitchers and catchers though, you can throw them away. They're not worth
Yeah.
it.
Well, Evan Carter's a catcher,
Don't
isn't
say
he?
that about
maybe
Adley, bro.
maybe Adley. Ethan Salas is a catcher too. So now I'm kind of like I don't know.
Wait, was Carter a catcher? Evan Carter?
No, he's an outfielder.
Oh, okay.
Do you have a favorite product, Ted? Like you look forward to this product coming out every year?
Man, I don't know. Like, I used to really like to rip Absolute, because you got the patch autos and the kabooms, so I like that hunt. But then now it's just so expensive. It's like less fun. To be totally honest with you, my favorite product just to rip. I probably like this is going to sound lame. Everyone's going to turn off the podcast, but I like like Chronicles baseball. It's like $100, $120 a box. You get like nice hits in it. I like Optic baseball because they got hot boxes, so you can get like 5 autos, 6 autos, or all hits. I like Optic football because you got the downtown chase and the colors and autos. But really for me, if it's just a rip, I like stuff that's got lots of stuff in it and isn't gonna crush your wallet. So I'm keen on that stuff. I used to really dig like 1-in-1. Select. I like that. They got the zebra. You got the the various insert hits, the gold, the auto. it's just that, when you got a product that's like $1,000 or $1,200 a box, and you could easily get nothing. Like, man, that is such a gut punch when you open that.
Mhm.
You open that box for $1,000, and you're like, I think, remember you and I, Joe, we did like 3 boxes of the 2021 Panini One. We had three
One
boxes
football.
of that. Yeah, so it was Trevor Lawrence year. It was like, first box was like Brian Dawkins. I'm like, oh no, oh my god. Second
Yeah.
box was like, I don't know, some other lineman. It was just like, why is, and then we ended up getting a T Law
Yeah,
RPA
I
in the
remember
last
that.
box, so we kind
Yeah.
of got out of it. But it
Oh
was
yeah.
just
So
like, you're just like, ugh,
we had to.
so
I felt like we had to keep going until we got. I was like, "There's no way that they
it's
put
getting
in enough."
ugly.
Yeah.
So I think that that's kind of the part that, for me, some people might dig that,
I
big
think.
big gamble, but I don't love that.
I think the big gambles are always fun, but they'll give you a lot of anxiety. But I think the
Oh
reason
yeah,
why you like those products is because of what you were talking about before, how you will like hustle to like get your last dollar out of it. To where
yeah,
most people in the hobby, especially newer people, don't know to do what you do. And I think that this is very informative for them and beneficial for them to hear somebody that does it on the daily. And you don't even do it yourself. You outsource it to other people. And
yeah.
so I think that that's why you like those lesser products. And I totally understand that because you're probably making money on those boxes way more than you are on the other stuff, the more expensive stuff. Although
Yeah, I
you've
mean,
been on a pretty decent run here lately, it seems like.
yeah, you can hit big stuff, and it kind of buys you a lot of wiggle room,
Hmm.
so I've hit a couple of pretty big monster cards recently, and they'll buy you quite a bit of runway. But on the average box of Chronicles baseball, you're going to get 3 autos, a couple of patch hits, several numbered cards. Are you going to get a card that's worth, like? I mean, you're not even going to get a card that's worth $500. Not You're lucky if you get some worth a couple hundred, but you're going to grind out of every box like 60 to $70 minimum. And in a good box, you're going to make like 225, and it's fun to open. So that to me is pretty good value. Um, you know, Granted, I'm gonna go open a box of 1-in-1 at some point, and probably gonna get smoked, which should
No,
be
no,
lame.
downtown and timeless. We're gonna be dancing. We're gonna be
But
dancing.
maybe it'll
Uh,
be that
well,
box. I remember when Panini 1-in-1 first came out. So this is a couple years ago. I think this is the third year they've had it now. Um, I went and I bought 2 boxes. They were, at the time, they were like 380 or 400. I remember being like, "Damn," and I was pissed because I got the same card in both boxes. Uh, it
Fun
was a
no more.
but you know what? But I ended up making a lot of money though, because they were both a timeless moment, and it was
Curry.
what's his name, Zach Levine from the Bulls. So I got 2 Zach Levine timeless moments. Now, I didn't know what the hell a timeless moment was. So I just thought that was just like a regular auto, and I was like, "You kidding me? I got 2 Zach Levine autos, and I spent $800." I was out of my mind, pissed. But then I think I sold them for like, I don't know, 12 or 1300 bucks combined. So you can do well, but buyer beware. It's certain products have a lower ceiling in terms of value, but a much higher floor, and so that can be a good neighborhood, but some folks really dig to have low floor but like very high ceiling. and
Hmm.
and that stuff hits, man. Like, I've seen in your shop, I've seen NFL shields get hit. you
Hmm.
know the biggest card that I've ever hit, well, I hit biggest card I ever hit, like, value at the time, was in your shop. I hit that LaMelo
Gold.
Prism
Gold.
Gold rookie.
Yep.
Biggest card I ever hit at the time. Biggest
I
card I
couldn't
ever
believe
hit
you did a
that.
cartwheel.
Oh man, that was crazy. Put the security footage up on the on the podcast. But years ago, I hit a NBA Finals logo man, Steph Curry,
Yeah, I
at
remember that.
Opulence. And so that's probably the biggest card of relative value. Um, and so, man, they're there. They do come up. They're rare, and so, but man, you could chase to your blue in the face and not ever see one though. So that's the other part of it.
One thing you do that is different than a lot of people. I feel like you kind of go after like you were talking about the Chronicles baseball, the Optic baseball. It's kind of like I don't want to say like weird products. It's just like the oddball products. It's like pickleball. Like we opened pickleball and it was fun.
Why
We
not?
got a Drew
Yeah.
Brees auto, which we didn't know what the heck we would to expect. But I do think it's fun. Do you think there's any products that you would consider like underrated that like people kind of sleep on that you besides Chronicles baseball like that you just said?
It's tough. I think Leaf, what's it? Leaf Trinity Baseball,
Hmm.
is a pretty slick product because there's usually really good prospects in there, but the big selling point is that the patches in that are insane. So the cards just really look nice. So when you buy it for like $150, there's actually some real value there, as a product. It's a real nice card. Um, but then the downside to a lot of Leaf stuff is man, it just does not carry the
The
same
resale, the
premium.
secondary market's not, but they are
No.
sick cards. I've seen you obviously open a bunch of the Leaf Trinity baseball, and just the patches, like you said, are ridiculous.
Oh, it's beautiful, beautiful product. I think that in Topps Inception Baseball is a pretty good value too. Well, I wouldn't go that far.
That came out today.
Yeah, it's got really nice looking cards in it, so the patches are really nice. The only thing that's tough about that product is that it's a pretty big checklist. So,
Hmm.
you know, you're gonna get like four-ish rookie patch autos in a box, or in a case, excuse me. Um, but the checklist is so big that it's not like you're gonna see Adley or Gunner, those guys. There could be.
The, the first box opened, the guy hit an Adley RPA here.
I know what case not to go touch now. But that's
Sorry, that was the last
that was
case.
the other case, yeah. I think Sterling's a pretty good product too. Bowman Sterling, five autos, for the price point, it's not bad. And then you can get vets in there, and it's got the tech stuff and gold and other colors. But apart from that, like when it comes to the other products, it's all pretty straightforward. I mean, for basketball, like there's no point from my vantage point. Take it for this, like these products like Flux, Illusions, that stuff is just trash. I mean, basketball, it's Prism, Select. Um, I'm kind of partial. I like the choice stuff, and the Asia stuff too. Um, but that used to kind of be like the sweet one. Like I really like Donruss Choice basketball, because for the price, it was generally cheaper than Optic. You get two autos in the box, and the hit rate I would find, at least on next day autos, was way higher in choice than in hobby.
Hmm.
And so you could open up 6 or 8 choice boxes, you might get like 2 next days, whereas that you might not even get one in a case, of hobby. So that's always a good product. But again, like anything, people start getting wise to all that, and then it kind of and so when it was like 225, it was like, oh my god, this is the greatest thing ever.
Let's break them
Um,
all.
not anymore.
Before we wrap it up, I know you like to say you're not a fan of any team, but you are a fan of one team. What are
That's
the
right.
chances, since Lay Goat is still playing, that the Lakers win the championship this year?
You can't call him Legoat on my podcast. Sorry, he's
Le,
definitely not Legoat.
Le
He is
best,
the goat of all
We'll give
time.
him the
Le
best.
second best. um, I love the Lakers, ever since I was a kid. I grew up in Los Angeles, so they're my team. I think it's very low chance that they win the title. I mean, they got a solid roster. They took a run at it last year. It's just that they're old, man, and they've got there's so many
Well,
other teams in
I
the
feel like
league now.
only LeBron's really the old player. Like
How
who?
old
No
is
one else is really
AD?
that old.
He
Is
he's
AD over
old.
30?
He's old, and AD's old in spirit. And
That's
so
fair.
I think that they could. You never know. I mean, they could catch fire and like just get on a run and do it. But I just, you look at them and you're like, man, how are you going to get through the Nuggets? Look at what happened last year, right? They had all this momentum, and they just got run over. And so
Did they sweep them?
They swept them, but the
they
games were
swept them.
close.
Yeah.
You know, yeah, sure. It
Yeah,
just seems like there's
Jordan got swept in
lots
the
of
first game.
teams,
That's fine.
young teams kind of coming up.
Jordan
Even the
Speed in the
Kings look
final.
pretty good now. So I
Did they
hope they
trade the
do,
wrong?
man.
Did they trade the wrong point guard?
Say what?
Did the Kings trade the wrong point guard?
Oh, with
Yeah.
Halliburton?
Halliburton is a
Yeah.
beast.
Yeah,
I
he's
mean,
pretty nasty. Base Sabonis is a stud
I
too,
think he
though.
has a better year than Fox.
Oh, I think Halliburton's probably
I
the
can't
starting
believe
point
that was
guard in the
his
All Star
first
game.
triple double 2 days ago or yesterday. No, it was 2 days
He
ago.
probably,
Yeah.
yeah, he probably doesn't get too many rebounds.
Yeah, he
It's
doesn't.
hard to say though. I mean, there's not like there's a team. I mean, there's lots of good teams. Celtics are a good team.
Nuggets are
Nuggets
the
are a
ones to
solid
beat.
team. You know, Sixers are a solid team. There's lots of good teams.
Hmm.
Even the Mavericks have looked pretty damn good.
Hmm.
But you know, I it seems like it's the Nuggets to lose.
I read the other day, Jokic leads the NBA in points, rebounds, and assists, like total.
I
That's
guess I'm saying.
ridiculous.
Well, he's the best player in the NBA right now.
But leading in all three is
He's
crazy.
leading in points.
Like total points, not
Not per
points per
game.
game.
I know, but still,
Yep.
does he have like more games than everybody?
I think he averages around like 25 to 30 in that range.
That's weird to me that he has the most points, but people are
It's
averaging
probably
60.
just temporary. Temporary.
Probably,
You
I'm
know.
sure. It was a that day stat.
Oh, but he's that good. I think he's the best player in the NBA, in my opinion, right
Yeah,
now.
man.
But yeah, you're right. There's a lot of other good teams. But the
But
Lakers may win the in-season tournament.
you
Hmm.
said that craziness the other day though. What was it, a couple months ago? What did you say? You said Jokic was like better. It was like top 3 all time or something like
They
that.
said
I want to
top
No,
top
smack you.
five center all time.
I said he. I think he will. He could end up being, and at that, and I still think that because of what he does. Like he just said the stat that probably none of those centers had: assists, rebounds, and points.
Oh, he could absolutely go down as like one of the greats,
He has
if
two
not the great.
MVPs, right?
2 MVPs and
Yeah.
1 championship. Yeah.
Final MVP, one final ring now, and
Yeah.
that team is going to be. I think he's just getting started, but he was a rookie in 16 or 15, I think.
15.
15.
He was the last pick of the
So he's
draft, I
been in
think.
the league, so it's kind of he's getting his prime. Definitely late. He's been in the. He was the last pick in the draft.
I think I know he was a second round pick. I think he was the last pick.
So same thing like Brock Purdy, but we're in 23, and he just won his first championship, and
That was LeBron also.
I think he'll
LeBron was
get
in
more.
year 8.
I think he'll get more than one.
Oh yeah. Yeah. He's a stud, man. I mean, particularly if you team him up. I mean, he's got a solid system around him, but like, I don't know. You see a guy like Luca partner with him. Holy smokes! It would
That'd be.
be
Hopefully, it'd be here in Dallas and not in
Yeah,
Denver.
come to Dallas. They don't need to stay in Denver.
good luck, dude. How do you guys feel about Cuban selling off the team? Is that good or bad news?
I mean, if I were him, I would have probably he bought it for 300 what
285.
285 million and sold it for 3.1 billion. So
3.8
like
billion. He's rich.
3.8 billion, but he still gets to
He
run.
doesn't have to do anything the rest of his life. He can relax
Well, he
forever.
already didn't have to do anything for the rest of his life, but he still gets to run the team, right? Like
He
it's
literally is. He sold the
I think
team and
so.
now still makes all
yeah,
the
like
decisions.
it's still his power. So I really don't understand what the benefit of that. I guess just he's making the team more relevant and worth more money. Like why would you not want him running it? I guess right.
I suppose.
Yeah.
I'm just
So
curious to see how things play out. I mean,
some people are saying he's trying to run for president,
eh,
and with all
There was a
that,
report
that's why
also that
he
he just wants
dropped
to hang out with his kids before they move out.
he got out of Shark Tank too, is what I heard too. And so like he's
huh?
like less and less responsibilities to maybe do something big or like he said, spend time with his family and stuff. But
Well,
yeah,
we'll see.
yeah.
All I know is when the Cowboys don't win the Super Bowl, I can bust Jordan's chops about that a little bit.
I don't think he said. I don't think he said once this season, unless I'm wrong, that the Cowboys will win the Super Bowl.
I've
But
said all along the Niners are better, and I think they beat us
he rides the highs like ridiculously, and he rides the lows ridiculously. And I think
all year since the
that may
Niners
be
game.
like all Cowboys fans. So
Since the Niners game, I have not said we were doing anything this year.
yeah, but I mean, y'all got hope. They're Dak is
We're gonna
runner,
smoke the
either
Eagles
front
this
runner or
weekend.
two for MVP. Do you really think y'all gonna smoke them?
No, but I think we beat them.
Yeah, at home. Y'all haven't
Yeah.
lost at home yet, right?
No, we haven't lost since like week 3 of last year at home.
Yeah, so it'll be a good game. I wanted to get one more question in real quick, Ted, before you take
Yeah.
off. It's
What's up?
just like, what kind of advice would you give somebody that's coming in to? So we've given our advice on this side of the table. What kind of advice from that side of the table would you give a collector that's coming in or just started doing this and trying to figure out like, and I know there's two different type of collectors, right? There's a collector that PCs, and then there's a collector that flips, and then there's people in between, right? So, what kind of advice
Yeah.
would you
Yeah.
just give to, let's just say, a guy is watching this and was like, okay, he rips a lot, he doesn't seem to collect as much, but just wanted to get your advice for them on that.
There's a lot of stuff to say about that. I mean, one would be know your limits. So,
Mm-hmm.
this is an expensive hobby. So kind of know what you're buying and why you're buying it. Um, and what it is you're pursuing. You know, two would be if you're flipping, flip. So like, know your outlets, where you're gonna sell. Um, work with people that are trustworthy, like Sappy here. Um, and don't kind of get stuck holding on to stuff if you don't want it. But also in the same way, don't rush to sell either. Meaning, there definitely is momentum in the hobby. Players that do well, their cards can run on a high. And so being thoughtful about when you sell stuff is also important. I'm like the worst with that, just because I just like to churn and burn, so I
I
don't even
don't
think
know.
about it.
I don't. I think you're actually good at that because you don't think about it. Like you don't lose as much. Like you always hit that like those Wimbies. I don't think they're. I don't know. Like they could stay at that. They could go a little bit more, but I think you did really well with that, and I think you're good about not having a connection with like it's not like a PC card of yours
There's
or
no
like, oh, I want to
overthinking with the
get
way he
that.
does
There's
it.
no overthinking it for you. You just burn and turn, um,
Yep.
and
But that's
we
that's for me. That's kind of
yeah,
why what I'm
it
doing.
works for you. It works for you.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
There,
that's
but but if you're trying to find value and buy and hold and sell and time the market and all that kind of
mhm.
stuff, then do that and be thoughtful about it, and don't necessarily jump like give you so my kind of like warning examples of that is like I had some insane Otani stuff, insane, that I sold. He got injured, was taking a long time to come back from injury. I was just kind of annoyed, so I'm like, I forget, I just sold it. I had like an orange batting Bowman Chrome auto rookie
First
BGS
rookie.
True
Yep.
Gem, like
Mhm.
nasty, probably like 50 grand now. Um, and so
Maybe 100.
I think it's more now.
maybe 100. This guy
Yeah.
got rubbed in. So in those situations, it's like, look, if you don't have to sell the card and you're not really a churn and burn kind of person, don't. Like take your time with it. And you and I, Joe, talked about Purdy just the other day. Like if you would have sold, your big Purdy's kind of at the third loss, you'd probably be down like 30, 40%. Whereas now he's like an MVP top guy. You're cooking. So you got to kind of ride the wave if you can. So I would just tell people to be mindful about what you're doing, know your budget, and pursue that. If you love a certain player collecting, then do that. Don't get caught up in the stuff, and definitely with breaking, a lot of these breakers that do this stuff online, repacks, all this kind of stuff you see, like um, do your own research. So like if you go on to like Whatnot, I mean, I don't want to rip on any particular breakers, but you know who the big dogs are. Like everything that gets hit is like the greatest card ever. Oh my God, you've been paid, you're in the money, this and that, and 9 out of 10 times that's nonsense. So don't get too sucked into the hype. Like you know, build your own hype because you know what's going on. Look at what things sell for. It's all there. Like it's
Yep.
all there. You can hop onto
Public.
alts and eBay. You can do
Yep.
anything. You can get all the info. So
I think that's some really good advice. Um, people should know what they're getting into. I think a lot of people don't do the research and kind of want it handed to them. And so whenever they do join those type of breaks and they think they made $1 million hit and it turns out to be a $10 card, they should just know to do their research and not buy into the hype so much.
What's crazy on that, I can't, it never ceases to amaze me because I'll be like in some of these breaks and guys are like, oh, that card is like 5,000 at least, and then I'm like, nah, that card's like 600, and then but you see people get roasted that like try to kind of like chime in because everyone's like,
Mm-hmm.
no, you're just negative energy, this and that. It's like, all right, good luck with
Well,
that,
you
dude.
can you can see on their card ladder, just pull it up or eBay
Pull it
or
right up.
any acknowledge, yeah. But thank you so much, man. We really appreciate you coming on. It was a great podcast with you. Good information for all of our customers out there. We appreciate you taking the time. That was episode 12. We had our special guest Ted on. Gave a bunch of good information for all collectors out there, all sorts of collectors. If you like to rip, if you like to buy singles and flip, all kinds of stuff. We really hope that you enjoyed all that you watched and continue to watch our podcasts. Also,
If you guys are new here, check out our bio. It has our link tree with all of our social medias: Facebook, TikTok, Instagram, whatnot, YouTube, Twitter, everything. If you guys are new, please drop a like and a sub, and we appreciate you for watching, and we will catch you in the next one.